You probably have a Power BI report that you check on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and more often than not, there's nothing significant to look at. Now, how can we avoid losing all that time? We can set up what's called alerts in Power BI, and it's quite simple and quite powerful. Let me show you how. When you come to Power BI and you have one of those reports that you want to set up an alert, what you will basically do is open the report and come up here to the top, set alert. This will pop up this menu, and this is basically an activator. You will select which visual you want to set the alert on. In this case, I'm going to do it with this card. You can also use the drop down if you want. You're going to pick up which measure you want to use. It could be that in one graph you have multiple measures, so that's something to have in mind. And then you want that the operator are, I don't know, when there's a change or when there's a value that becomes greater than or becomes greater or equal than, you have different options to select from. Basically, when do you want the alert to tell you something? Let's pick when becomes greater than, and let's say that the current value is 118. Let's say that I want that whenever is greater than 120, send me an email, and that's about it. Save locations, you will have to save it in a workspace, and in an item, I always save it on the same place, which is my Power BI alerts. You can create different ones if you want to, I don't know, segregate your alerts for something specific, but I usually always use my Power BI alerts. Now you click on create, and now it's doing it for you. If you don't have set alerts already there, it will create something from scratch. Actually, you can see it here, the data activator. And this data activator will show you all the alerts that you have. So in this case, I have 3 alerts. We could also create the alerts directly from data activator. I'm going to go directly to my Power BI alerts, and inside of it we can create new properties, trigger, custom actions, everything that we may see fit. We also have the different alerts that we have created and the data that we can use for. We can see here historics of different alerts with changes and all that. If we go to design, we can create a new trigger, and triggers are based on the source, so we will always have to start from a source. To get the sources, you will need to trigger them from the report. So if you haven't triggered a specific source, you will not be able to create one of those triggers. Let's say in this case, I have this alert that it's whenever the value becomes greater than 110, and this is for the same measure I was showing you before. I could create another trigger for the same exact measure. This trigger we're going to call it changes and inside here we need to select the property. So if our source was having multiple measures, we could select different measures. In this case we only had one. Then we could select the type of detection, so what's going to trigger what we have. In this case we're going to use, let's say, changes. Whenever there's a change on that value, get the trigger going on. And the act is basically send me an email or a Teams message or create or run a fabrics item. As I was telling you, you could create this directly from the report. For me, it's the easiest way to do it. But hey, if you have a measure that you use a lot and you want to have multiple triggers based on that measure for different thresholds, for different situations, you create one initial source and then you can create as many triggers as you see fit. In this case, let me finish it. I'm going to get an email and saying that everything else has been done. We save it and we can start it. If you don't start it, you can create everything, but it will not work. So that's something to have in mind. If you found this useful and you need some help in any of your developments, let me know on the link that you have in the description. And if you want to look for any other development or any other thing in the Power Platform, check out this video right here. You'll probably find it useful.